department, and I will be the moderator of this session. We have 3 talks in the time allotted for the whole session, and we will start with the first one that is going to be given by Matt Joganik, Harvest Montemeyer, Sam Zerbiv, and Fahad Al-Subai. So they are the ones. The topic of their presentation is Fionasbow, and I want to just give you the rules of the session very, very briefly before we begin. I would appreciate if you could turn off your cell phones, or at least have them on vibration mode, and if you get a call, maybe you can delay it for a little bit to not disrupt the presenters. The questions, I would appreciate if you could place them at the end of their presentations. There will be a 5-minute time slot for presentation, for questions and answers only. So again, I would appreciate if you could hold the questions for that time. Other than that, I invite you to enjoy the presentation, and I give the floor to the guys. Thanks. Please.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. This is the Fionasbow team. My name is Fahad Al-Subai, and here is Harvest Montemeyer, Sam Zerbiv, and Matt Joganik. First of all, I'm going to give you a quick overview about what we are going to talk about in this presentation. We'll start with our clients, problem definition, requirement, research, design concepts, prototypes, feedback, final design, analysis, budget, conclusion, then last, our final thoughts. Let me start to talk about our client, Professor Karen Holbert. She is an AO instructor at the music department. Also, she is a member of Flagstaff Symphony. Our second lead client, which is her student, Fiona Carroll. She is 13 years old. She is playing violin for 3 years, and she is under current instruction 14 years. She born with 3 missing fingers in her left hand, and she's wondering to make for her a new attachment. Now I'm going to start to talk about the problem definition. As we see here, this is the old attachment she has. Actually, this is the old attachment she had before we made for her the new attachment. It's made from wood. It's really heavy attachment. It doesn't fit her hand because her hand is going up because she has it from 3 years. Her hand slipped out when she's playing really fast. The old attachment weight is 28 grams. Her hand position uncomfortable when she's playing really fast. Also, the sound quality, as we see here, that the old attachment is touching the playable length of the bow and changing the harmonics. There's some requirements we have to follow to make this a project. The first one, we can't make any change on the bow because we got that from Miss Karen. She told us there's many different kinds of quality for the bows, and the violinist should choose it by feeling how it's like, how if he's like it or she's like it or not. Also, our attachment should be really light because we don't want to mess with the balance of the bow, and also the weight of the bow is 52 grams. That's why we need to put something really light on the bow. And it should fit for the big and thumb, non-slip grip, allow for professional tone quality by touching the bow hair. We had some violin researchers before we start our project. We studied a little bit about the techniques and how they're playing the violin because we are trying to get enough information and getting really good background about the violin before we start our attachment, making our attachment. Also, we studied the physics and the mechanics to the bow, and I think it really helped us a lot when we went to the concerts recital for Fiona. We found out like where is the weakness part when she's playing with the old attachment, and we're trying to fix it with the attachment we are going to make. Fiona 2 weeks ago had a master class with Adrian Antoine. By the way, Adrian Antoine, he is one of the famous violinists in US. He's playing violin with missing right hand. We gave him the idea about our presentation. He gave us a really good feedback about what we are doing and what we are supposed to do and what the thing will help us to get to the right track. Now, Harvey is going to talk about the hand condition.
Our next research topic involves missing some digits. Now, this condition is very rare and usually occurs in all 4 limbs, but in Fiona's case, it only occurred in the left hand. Now, this condition occurred in the womb, and now it occurred because a blood clot formed in her aortic valve in her heart, and it inhibited the signal that transmitted to tell the metacarpals to grow. As you can see from this x-ray provided by Fiona and her family, she is missing the 3 central metacarpals here in her hand and the 5th proximal phalanx in her pinky. She's also missing the internal tendons that allow for knuckle bending as we know it. The motion of her thumb is only in one plane because she is missing the ball joint here that allows for rotation. Despite all this, we did learn that Fiona has a full range of motion in her wrist. A very valuable reference tool came about when Fiona allowed us to make a physical cast of her hand. We wanted to take distance and sizing measurements of her fingers without increasing her shyness. So this model allowed us to build and test our prototypes before we even gave them to Fiona. Now, another topic of our research was looking at the earlier concepts for designs. Now, we have some of them here for you to see today. These 2 designs were made for Fiona by a friend of Karen's, Karen Halbert, when she was 5 and 7. You can see they're quite small. When Fiona got her recent attachment, they noticed a noticeable difference in sound quality from moving the pinky hole to the top and the thumb hole to the bottom. As you can see, she was playing on top before. The most recent attachment attempt was made by a professional prosthetics engineer out of California, and Fiona was only able to play with this attachment for a few minutes before it became too uncomfortable to play with. Our final topic of research was that of materials. We wanted to investigate the different properties and machinability of the different plastics. We received a charitable donation of 9 samples of plastics from Carl's Plastics out of Minneapolis, and this allowed us to test the different properties that would come out of each plastic. We ended up prototyping mostly out of low-density polyethylene because it's very easily machinable. And our final product was made of Delrin, which met one of our requirements, which that it needed to be dark in color. Now we can move on to our task last semester was to come up with some design concepts. Our very first design concept was a lightweight design that incorporated 2 very thin carbon fiber rings. Now, we realized eventually that the fine finish on the carbon fiber would be too slippery for contact with the skin, and that the thin rings would not give her enough substantial support for her fingers. So we immediately moved on to a different design that's also lightweight, but made of redwood. Now, we received a suggestion from our colleague, Dana Duvall, who's not here with us today, but we appreciate his help, to think in 3D and bring out the thumb hole to meet Fiona. As you can see, it's a little extended on the thumb holes. We also made 2 different configurations for the thumb holes to see which would give a better advantage on the pressure applied to the bow. Now, what we found upon testing is that at any given time there would be an empty hole visible by Fiona's audience if she had this attachment, and that would not work. Our second design concept incorporated a hard plastic shell with soft inserts for improved grip. Now, we made this prototype out of polyvinyl chloride, is the outer shell, and the inner inserts are made of polyurethane. Now, polyurethane proved very sticky in contact with other plastics, but at interface with human skin, it proves more slippery because the perspiration in between the skin and the polyurethane just creates more slipperiness. So that idea was eliminated. Also, this design is a snap-on design that allows for easy installation and removal. She can also replace and move the attachment anywhere along the bow. What we finally realized, though, was that there was a potential for this kind of snap-on attachment to become unreliable, as over time, from constant installation and removal, you can already see, there's a potential for it to come off during the performance. That wasn't good either. So we moved on to our third design, which is a ball joint that is attached to the bow by way of a glove that's on Fiona's hand. Now, the ball joint was intended to give her a third point of contact that would allow for control and stability and a wider range of motion. Now, when Fiona tested this, she did agree that it gave a little bit more stability, but it did not mitigate the problem of her thumb slipping out of the attachment. So it wasn't meeting our requirements. It was also too visually obvious with the glove being black. And now we can move on to our different stages of our prototypes. All of these prototypes show the progression of our project and the single variable that we changed from each one to eliminate all of our problems. We started simply with wood designs, and then we obtained the plastic from Cross Plastics, so we were able to machine plastic. We looked at different installation techniques, as I said, a snap-on, a slip-on, and finally, down at the end, attached with hardware. We looked at different holding configurations. We wanted to see which would give the best playable advantage. We wanted to make sure it was ergonomic and comfortable. And finally, we looked at different textures and techniques to improve the grip and decrease slipperiness. Throughout our progression, we went from simple to complex to more complex